VC, it's Steve Whitty here with another video, I think the fourth one this week, making advantage of my time off work. Hope everything's well with everybody, having an enjoyable weekend so far. As I said in the last video, it's a bank holiday. Weather's a bit iffy outside, so I think I'm going to stay and listen to music after I've done this video. Also a bit tired because I've spent the last 3 days looking after my friend's record shop, which has been an enjoyable experience, and I may maybe do a video on that later on. This video is a recent listens video, or recent finds, whatever I decide to call it. I think it's recent listens, what I call this series, and it's just really some of the albums I've been listening to the past few weeks and sort of trying slowly catching up on myself. So there's about 16, 17 albums I'm going to show you today. So in one of my first videos, early videos, I showed a copy of Cream's Wheels of Fire, and this was it was originally issued as a studio album, as a double album, one studio, one record was a live album. What I'd got was the studio album released separately. They released the studio and the live album separately, so I showed you in the studio. And now I've found and listened to a copy of Wheels of Fire Cream, and this is live at the Fillmore. So it's exactly what's on the double album. It's just that they decided to split it, which made sense because the double albums were a lot of money. So you've got on here Crossroads, Spoonful, Train Time, Toad. It's a corking album, live albums. I was pretty pleased to pick that up. As Pete said to me when I said I'd been waiting to find a copy of that, he says, "Well, all things come to those who wait." Next album. This is Dr. Feelgood Malpractice. This came out in 1975. It's the band's second album. There you go. On the United Artists label. Back in the Night and Right and Cell Block 9. I Can Tell. Another Man. Just corking record. They really were finding their feet. Obviously, Down by the Jetty was such a seminal album. This just followed it up, and at this point, Dr. Feelgood were really building up momentum. They eventually ended up having a #1 album, the live album, but like all things, it didn't last. But it's just a great album. If you haven't got any of that Wilco Johnson era Dr. Feelgood, I'd recommend you pick some of that up. Next album. This is Manfred Mann's Earth Band's The Roaring Silence. This is probably the best known album, primarily because it's got the opening track is the version of Blinded by the Light, which reached #1 in the US. Pretty much made a career out of recording pretty much all the songs on Bruce Springsteen's debut album. I think this album also features the first time that Chris Thompson appeared on vocals. He's got a slightly, probably more radio-friendly sounding vocals. And this was be the lineup that carry on for the next few albums. It's not a bad album. It's not a bad album actually. It's obviously Manfred Mann was still trying to go through his proggy vein, but picking up Blinded by the Light seemed an inspired move, which rewarded them handsomely. It was also a big hit in the UK. Another album. I see a lot of Jerry Rafferty's City to City. I don't really see his Night Owl album so much. This was the follow-up released in 1979. Title track was the top 10's hit in the UK, and he had a minor hit with the final track on side 1, Get It Right Next Time. Pretty much the last time he really dented the charts. I'm trying to think what the follow-up album to this was. I think it was Snakes and Ladders or something like that. And it wasn't as successful, and his career sort of tailed off, and then the issues he had with his drinking and whatever, and it's rather sad what happened to him in the end. But I think it's up there with City to City. I think it's just as good an album. So if you find it, you'll see it in plenty of pound bins and charity shops. It's worth checking out. Recently, Pete had brought a load of classic rock, and quite a lot of it was not in great condition, so it'd be classed as your £2. So I managed to score some. Managed AC/DC's Dirty D's Done Dirt Cheap. This has the inner sleeve. There you go, on the Atlantic label there. The band's second overseas release. Initially not issued in the US. And it only it sort of built up on their live following in the UK. It became a top 10 US album in 1981 after the success of Back in Black, and the record company decided to actually issue the album over there. It really is a good album. It's obviously got the title tracks. You got Rocker, Problem Child, Love Ride On, and I think, it's just a great album. I mean, you can't go really wrong with a Bon Scott era AC/DC. Next album I picked up. This is Dio, and this is Holy Diver, his debut album from 1983. I remember buying this and having it on cassette when it first came out. Pretty much, obviously his band produced the band, and the band at the time, he had Vinny Appice on drums, he had Jimmy Bain on bass. Both he'd worked with in Sabbath and Rainbow, respectively. And he then picked up Vivian Campbell, who was then an unknown guitarist. I think he played in a band called Sweet Savage from Northern Ireland. And it sort of blended, it really did blend it. There are some good songs on here. Stand Up and Shout, Holy Driver, Gypsy, Rainbow in the Dark is probably my favourite, probably the most popular sounding. And it really just, it felt right. It just felt right, the album. So yes, pleased to find that. The voice is starting to croak up a bit. Oh, that's better. Slightly changed tact. This is Ian Jury's Lord Upminster album. Now, this was the first album he released after leaving Stiff and going to Polydor, and it also doesn't feature the Blockheads, so it's very much almost like it's a solo album. Chas Jankel's still writing with him, but this album, it's not his greatest album he ever did. The problem was he decided to record this in Jamaica, no, in Bahamas, sorry, and they didn't have any songs. Him and Chas, and so they pretty much wrote it on the spot. But they used Sly and Robbie as the rhythm section. And then when it got released, there's a track on here which was the lead single, which was Spasticus Autisticus, which Ian Jury is relaying his disability through polio, having polio as a child, and it got banned by the radio. It was just too sensitive a subject at that time to sing about. And I think that both Chas and Ian Jury admitted that the album wasn't as good as it could have been. They were sort of a little bit lost. And I think Chas Jankel stopped writing with Ian Jury pretty much not long after this. It's worth a listen, but I wouldn't go out of my way to purchase it. Back to the rock, Ian Gillan Band, Child in Time. This is the debut album for the Ian Gillan Band, released on Oyster through Polydor, I believe. Yeah. It does feature, said track, a re-recorded version of Child in Time, which is, I wouldn't say totally different, but it's not as long, the vocals are not as I don't think the vocals match the original in rock. Yeah, it's produced by Roger Glover. And I think it's partly as a sort of a favour because I think Ian Gillan, when he left Deep Purple, had pretty much kissed goodbye to the music industry. He was going to run his studio, become a businessman. And I think once he got persuaded to do the Butterfly Ball for Roger Glover, it sort of tempted him back into music. It's okay. This is probably the most rockiest of the Ian Gillan Band albums. Everything else went into a more jazz rock vein. Next couple of albums I'm going to show you. Normally, if you see albums by this band, they're usually quite expensive. It's quite rare to find in the wild round my way. But managed to pick up a copy of Iron Maiden's Peace of Mind. Bit damage on the cover. The band's fourth album. The first album to feature Nico McBrain on drums. And this is pretty much Steve Harris had got his lineup that he wanted. He'd be sort of like, he knew he was very driven on who he wanted to play. He'd have people in, but if he knew there's someone better out there, he wasn't too afraid to get rid at the early period. On here, it was two singles were Flight of Icarus and The Trooper. Trooper and a Cloudy Mile rated it as his favourite Iron Maiden song of all time. Die With Your Boots On, Sun and Steel, Tame a Land, Revelations. It's a good album. It was a good follow-up to Number of the Beast, which sort of really put them up to that next level. As I said, this lineup was very much a good lineup, and the final album recorded by this lineup was Seventh Son of the Seventh Son, and released in 1988. Singles wise, they took it to another level. Can I Play With Madness, The Evil That Men Do, both were top 10 hits in the UK. As I say, the title track, Moonchild, Only Good Die Young, really classic Maiden. But it was the last album to feature Adrian Smith at that time in the lineup. He would leave the band. I think he wanted to go in a more poppier direction, so he decided, I'd go. He parted on good terms because he was asked back when they got the Bruce Dickinson back in 1999. And it's been that stable lineup ever since. So, sometimes you just need a bit of a change. Changing track again. This is Grace Jones' Island Life. This is a comp of all the best stuff on Island Records. Opens up with Liviana Rose, I Need a Man, Do or Die, Private Life, I've Seen That Face Before, Libertango, and then Love Is the Drug, Pull Up to the Bumper, Walking in the Rain, My Jamaican Guy, Slave to the Rhythm. Absolutely corking. Get hold of her albums, her 80s albums. They really are up with anything that came out there. Obviously striking looking woman at the time, but some really good tunes on that. A couple of Lou Reed finds. This is Growing Up in Public. This is 1980 on the Arista label. Album I wasn't aware of until I saw it in the £2 bins, so I thought I'd take a punt with that. It's okay. There's nothing remarkable about the album. Couldn't say there's anything that stood out that made it a great album, but it's a good album. Good album by Lou Reed. And then another Lou Reed find I found at the same time was Mistral. This came out in 1986, and this was on the RCA label. Again, it's a good album. Nothing that stands out, I suppose. You can't judge it. It's difficult to judge Lou Reed unless you try and judge it against the albums like Berlin and Transformer, which is wrong to do because it's totally different circumstances for the guy at the time. But it's not a bad album. I ain't going to say no to Lou Reed if I find it in the wild. This is Linda Ronstadt's Don't Cry Now from 1976. Really, she's getting into a peak in America. Desperado's on here, her version of it. Sail Away, Silver Thread and Golden Needle. Not a bad album. It's a really good album. You know, her vocals always there. And she's tricky. She always pick good songs to match up her voice, and they're very radio friendly as it was in America at the time. Didn't really do much in the UK, but obviously in America, everyone sort of fell in love with her. These next two albums I was amazed to find them in the cheap bins, considering that we'd recently lost the sort of inspiration for the band. And this is first one, Talk Talk, the debut album, Party's Over. This is when obviously they were trying to push them as a sort of like new romantic type band. They were trying to be tagged into that electronic synth pop. Talk Talk, title track, classic. Today was a hit single for them. Really good album. And then probably more remarkably, I found this as well. This is The Colour of Spring from Talk Talk. I believe might be the third album. It's got Life What You Make It on it, Living in Another World, Give It Up. And the band were finding their feet. Mark Hollis knew what he wanted for the band. He didn't want to be in the commercial world. He wanted to make music that pleased him. And in a way, it succeeded. You know, in fact, he could walk away from the music industry after his solo album on his own terms. Just remarkable. So yes, really pleased to find that. And the final album I'm going to show in this video is Tubeway Army, the debut album featuring Gary Newman. This is a 1982 reissue on the Fame label, and it's because it says featuring Gary Newman. When the album originally first came out, it was on a blue Beggars Banquet label, and they're very rare to find, very expensive. So this is the Fame label there. And then when Tubeway Army became successful with Our Friends Electric, Beggars Banquet did reissue this album with the red Beggars Banquet label, and it just said Tubeway Army on the cover. And then it subsequently got reissued on the Fame label, same featuring Gary Newman. You could see the direction he wanted to go in. It sort of leans on the punk new wave. It's very much, I would say, a new wave album, but there's hints of future direction there. The lineup, his best mate Paul Gardner on bass, and his uncle Jess Lingard on drums. As I said, it's not a bad album. Not a bad album at all, produced by Gary Newman. It's certainly a taster for things to come. So there you go, VC. I hope you liked what I've shown you just now. I'd like to thank all my subscribers for subscribing, and thank you all for watching. If you're new to the channel and you like what you see, click on the subscribe button. It's always more subscribers, the merrier. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Love the interaction, and feel free to leave a comment. I'll always get back to you. So VC, enjoy the rest of Sunday. I think it's going to be a bit drizzly, so I'm going to stay in and just listen to music. I'm just going to chill out today. I've got tomorrow as the bank holiday. So until the next video, VC, take care of yourselves, keep spinning, more importantly, keep smiling.